What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some Alan Wake 2 as I have my review on the recent release game made by Remedy. And I will say this right now to you guys. Alan Wake 2 is definitely one of the most unique and interesting games I've ever had the fortune of playing. Because you definitely are going to have a lot of moments that make you go, what? How is that happening? How is this possible? What's going to happen next? What's going on? How in the world do these two things combined actually work? And yeah, did that happen with the coffee cup? Yeah, I don't know what happened here. Yeah, I've encountered a few glitches as well, but most of the stuff is just stuff I get for laughs or whatnot. But while Detective Casey tries to drink from that coffee cup that's not at his hands and his feet, I'm going to give you my review on Alan Wake 2 and why I cannot stress enough how I highly recommend this title. In Alan Wake 2, you play as two characters, one Saga and two Alan. And with both characters, they both have unique distinctions of how both of them play, with Saga being the detective and Alan being the writer. And as soon as I saw there was a detective part to this game, I'll be the first one to admit I have a huge kryptonite with detective case boards and having a whole chart here. So basically, you'll find evidence throughout the game and you'll get a case file and you'll be getting evidence as you talk to other people or find evidence across the game as you play it through talking, profiling people, seeing physical evidence or manuscript pages. And you map out these things as you get more evidence, you get to have more deductions of what's going on. As I said, it's my kryptonite. So having this in the game is an automatic win for me. I love this whole detective thing, this mind place you go into that's basically your own personal space, and that you do with Saga, and where you can just put these cases together and learn and put the pieces and figure out where things are going to go. There's a lot of case files, a lot of things, not just in terms of the main game itself, but also some of the collectibles and the side quests. Some of these maps can get really out of control with the webbing because there's so many pictures and things connected to each other. It can get kind of overwhelming at times, but it definitely is an excellent addition to this game. And as I said, it's my kryptonite, so it knew what it was doing and luring me personally to really enjoying this game, but I really enjoyed the case files. One of the big things I really loved about this game compared to the first one is having a semi-open world. I can't stress this enough in terms of just being able to go back to multiple areas and just explore, find stuff, because the environments are definitely well detailed, whether you're in the forest or you're in town, or you're in a nursing home, or you're in the cities of New York. You will definitely have a lot to do, a lot to explore, and just be mesmerized by how good it looks. Because I can't stress this enough. You notice this a lot more, I think, when you're in the New York City and the Alan parts. Not that you don't see them with the Saga parts, but I just feel like there's a lot more detail, especially with all the neon light shining through. But this game has a lot of detail in its environment. I think it was a great choice to do this, just because a lot of the areas, they're a lot more memorable, whether you're in the nursing home or in the subway tunnels or the motel, wherever you're at. A lot of these areas, they really stand up because you can go back to them multiple times, because sometimes you might have certain doors you can't get into because you don't have certain items at a time, but you can go in there later and get the collectibles. So this is a great addition and a huge improvement compared to the first one. Of course, it wouldn't be Alan Wake without collecting manuscripts, and regardless of whether you're writing the manuscripts or you're the one collecting them, it's always a thrill just to hear the audio reading over as you collect pages, and some pages you collect before they even happen, and you just kind of see what's going to happen, them read over it for you. And I always enjoy these segments because it's something Remedy always does really well, is these great auditory segments where you just really feel like you are in a true murder thrill mystery, and you just want to get the next page to figure out what's going to happen. And it's really cool when you see what's going to happen without you being in that point in time when it actually happens itself. Another cool part with this game is the profiling. Is Saga has the ability to basically go in her mind place and profile and dig into certain people to ask questions, which can help in getting the case further on, where maybe someone's holding out information, or maybe she's trying to determine if they're lying or telling the truth. I just really just like this whole concept. The whole detective thing with Saga was definitely a blast and a blessing to have in this game, as it really just adds a really unique dynamic, especially when you compare that with Alan's. And I feel like that's something this game really excels at, is balancing the differences as well as similarities between Alan and Saga from a narrative standpoint. I was definitely not bored at any point in time, regardless of whether I was being the detective or being the writer. Combat is definitely a big improvement as well, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of people make the comparison. It's got that Resident Evil remake vibe of combat, and hey, I'm all for it because it feels great. It feels good to shoot people. It feels excellent when you get different weapons from your crossbows, your rifles, your shotguns, your flare guns, and of course your handgun, as well as other things you can use to fight the enemies. But it definitely feels a lot more satisfying than compared to the first one. So combat is definitely a big thrill. So there's a lot of improvements, especially in terms of how the game progresses and the world, as well as the combat, in compared to the first Alan Wake, in my honest opinion. And with Saga, you're actually able to upgrade the weapons as you find the Alex Casey lunch boxes that basically give you these weapon upgradable parts that can basically upgrade your weapons. Another cool detail I like about upgrading the weapons is that when you do choose what part of the weapon you want to upgrade, it's not just you just upgrade and that's it. As soon as you do upgrade the weapon, you also have Alan basically write that into the script itself and give a little dialogue of what's going on with the weapon as he upgrades it. So I think that's a really cool, unique thing. As I said, this game is very, very unique, and I can't stress that enough. You definitely will be very rewarded for taking the time to explore things and find out stuff. There was a lot of detail put into all this stuff. I just like the whole thing of it being written and making sense in the confines of this story. So I definitely really, really appreciate these small little details that go a long way to making this game the enjoyable thing that it is. Of course, you have puzzles all throughout the game, and I personally like the rhyme puzzles and Saga's portion of the game a lot, just because it kind of builds that narrative of the story, because it's not just you're solving a puzzle, but it's also adding more lore to the story, and I just really love the whole concept of figuring this stuff out, as well as following the trail to get the prize you get at the end. But you get a lot of puzzles in this game, a lot of puzzles that they don't necessarily hold your hand to. Some of them can be easy, some of them a little hard, and some of them can be deceiving, but you get a variety of them. So I really think they did a lot of good work with the puzzles here. So at this point in time, I'm just kind of trying to find the things that necessarily aren't the greatest things in the world, and I'm kind of failing miserably because this game is really just pulling out all the stops from so many different levels. But now let's get into Alan. As I said, this is a dual protagonist game, and one of the cool parts about this game I like is the fact that after a certain point, you can swap between Alan and Saga whenever you want. If you want to do one mission Alan, one mission Saga, you can. Or if you want to do all the missions to Alan until you have to eventually switch over to Saga, you can. As I like that ability to do that. I think it's very unique and very cool, depending on how you want to do it. So I like that freedom. But Alan, while he does have similarities, he does play differently as well. Maybe not in terms of mechanics, in terms of just progressing, but he does have some differences as well. Remember, he is the writer, and one of the cool parts about it, as you'll see shortly, is that Alan's got to write himself into certain scenarios in the story for the story to progress. But it's also got to make sense in the confounds of what's going on in the story, so he can't just write whatever he wants. So I like how this game explores that and makes it unique, because it's really unique how you progress through this game, especially through Alan's part of the story. I really, really give him a lot of points for that. But with Alan, you have this little light device that basically can either take the light or give the light. And pretty much the purpose of this is if you have an area that needs a light, you can put in light as long as you have a light to give. And doing this basically either clears a path for you or maybe changes the environment. But it's a way to progress the game. And sometimes you might need multiple light sources to get in and get out. But the thing about it is it definitely gives you a lot of variety in terms of getting from point A to point B, as well as opening up a lot of areas for, like, say Alan's puzzles. By changing the environment, you may be able to see a lot of things that you couldn't see without the light source or with a light source, and this helps a lot of replayability and going back and finding areas maybe you didn't figure out at the time, and also getting more upgrades. For Alan's upgrades, you find these words of power, which I like the whole thing about it, words of power. But basically with these words of power, when you find these upgrades, Unlike with Saga, where it just upgrades the weapons, with Alan, you actually get a whole list of different upgrades, not just with some of the weapons, but also his person himself. Like, the time it takes to heal, the flashlight gauge, maybe the ability to have more health, or there's so many variety of things you can do, and you also have multiple levels you can upgrade that. So it's actually probably more extensive through Alan's upgrade tree than Saga's, but nonetheless, it is a very interesting thing, and I just like the whole words of power concept there. But I gotta say this right now, and I mean this. I was hyping up earlier. When you get to the city, it looks so damn good. Oh my goodness. I can't stress this enough. With the whole neon lights and the smoke, this game looks so beautiful. It's one of the most gorgeous looking, well detailed environments in a game I've ever seen, period. This game looks so amazing. It's art just to look at it. I can't be the only person that thinks this either, but whenever you have the Detective Casey moments within the Alan storyline, I can't be the only one that thinks that these are just like mini Max Payne episodes. As I said, I absolutely love his incursion in this whole game, and maybe one day, whenever that is, we'll get that fabled Max Payne remake, but his parts of the character being a Detective Casey are so intriguing for the story and just give me those Max Payne vibes, and hopefully one day we'll see that in the future. For Alan's combat, it's basically similar to Saga's. I think the only real difference is maybe the enemies you fight. It's basically the same concept. The whole difference with enemies is there's obviously shadow people, and some of the shadows may not manifest and hurt you. Some of them might. You might use a flashlight. But for the most part, it is rudimentarily the same thing. And just like with Sagas, it's very satisfying to shoot people, and it feels great. So I really give them credit for improving upon what the first one did. Like with Saga's detective mode, Alan is a writer, and in order for him to progress through the story, he has to watch these echoes to sometimes get plot points in terms of how narratively it would make sense for him to progress through an area. So you might have an area which it's all blocked off and he can't progress any further. So like with Saga's Mind Place, you have Alan's plot board or his writer's room, and basically as long as you're in an area, you can add a whole element to the story. So in this case, there's a missing FBI agent. So you add this whole narrative to the story, and all of a sudden the environment changes and it gives you a way to progress forward. I really do like this because you will get multiple plot points throughout the area. So you might have to change that environment multiple times, not just to progress through the story, therefore, but sometimes maybe to unlock some more collectibles or find some hidden paths to get some more supplies. I really like this whole concept. I think it's really unique, and I give them a lot of credit for that. I've never really played a game that had this type of progression and be it so unique, so integral to the story, and so cool to the gameplay wise. It's really just a perfect blend, whether you're being Saga the Detective or Alan the Writer. I just like the whole concept, and it's really executed to basically perfection. I don't want to ruin the story too much for people who haven't played it, but obviously it probably would help to play Alan Wake, the first one, which I finally got the privilege of playing this year, and I really did enjoy it narratively. And if you're thinking, oh, is this game going to be the same enjoyable narrative as it was in the first one? Oh, you bet, and then some. I really can't stress that. I think they balance both characters really brilliantly. They build the world. Remedy has one of the most interesting world building ever, because you'll get so many Easter eggs, not just within this game, but also the other games that Remedy has built, whether it's Control or whether it's Quantum Break or whether it's Max Payne. The world of Alan Wake 2 is a character in its own right, and it's a work of art. Basically a masterpiece in my opinion. I can't stress enough how interesting and how you will be so into the world and its details, as well as how the plot progresses. It is definitely a masterclass work of art. And I'll tell you this right now, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I ever would put survival horror in a musical as an entire level that you progress through, and it literally not just works, but is one of the greatest just pure levels I've ever played in anything. The whole Alan Wake 2 musical, Herald of Darkness, guys, this is just pure awesome. This is just Remedy basically flexing. Like this whole sequence is just one of the most unbelievable things I've ever played in any game. And when you get here and you go through this whole thing, I'll just say this right now, you're in for a real treat. This is absolutely just amazing. And the fact they make it not just work, but be just so great is just absolutely unbelievable. You say this on paper and it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but for the confound of this story and this narrative, it absolutely works to perfection. Rock on, old gods of Asgard. You deserve it. As you saw in the earlier clip with the coffee cup, there are a few glitches in this game to encounter. Nothing groundbreaking. Most of them are just graphical glitches or just weird items and how they interact. Or I did have this one enemy that just kind of just froze in place and didn't really do anything. But nonetheless, a lot of this stuff were just things I laughed at or just kind of thought of as, a joke or funny. But nonetheless, they are there, and so maybe you think maybe I should wait a little bit. I don't think anything inhibits you from playing the game, but just more things maybe just load in the background, or an enemy might freeze once in a while. But overall, I didn't have anything that inhibited me from actually playing the game and enjoying the game. So I will just say that you do get a few things, but nothing too major. I think the only real negative I can honestly say with this game is that I wished maybe there was a little bit more enemy variety. But other than that, that's about it. And I guess the only thing I couldn't stand was those damn wolves, just because of how they move. They move so sporadically all over the place. But other than that, this game is a true work of art. I cannot stress this enough. I highly, highly recommend playing Alan Wake 2. I think we've been spoiled rotten a little bit this year in the survival horror genres. We've had a lot of games come out and be excellent, amazing additions to the franchise. We've had a lot of remakes, and now we have a sequel to a very well-requested game from a famous game back about 13 years ago when it came out. And I'll just say this right now, I had a blast playing this, and with the way the game ends, I don't think we're going to be leaving the world of Alan Wake 2 anytime soon, but that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. Are you a die-hard Alan Wake fan who played the original when it came out? How do you think the sequel sets up when compared to the original? Do you think it's a satisfying sequel? Let me know down in the comment section down below. But that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.